What is up, everyone? This is Phil, the Kaiju King, from my collection room in Greater Cincinnati. As you could tell on my opening, I wanted to do a video on this guy. I haven't done a particular video on this figure yet. I've had him in some size comparisons and stuff, but I never have really ever done an actual video on this here sculpt. This is another of my Mark Seng Yang collection, and it is pretty awesome. This is, of course, Godzilla 1975, holding Mechagodzilla's head right after he had ripped it off. The iconic scene, probably one of the most iconic scenes in the film, in my opinion, is when Godzilla does this to Mechagodzilla. From, of course, the film 1975's Terror of Mechagodzilla. Of course, it ends up being the final film of the Showa era, and there's a 9-year hiatus for Godzilla before he's brought back for the beginning of the Heisei. What is considered the beginning of Heisei, which is Godzilla 1984. But this film is a very good film. The peak of superhero Godzilla, I would say, even with what happens in the film with the two little kids on Titanosaurus and in Mechagodzilla. It looks like they're chasing them, and that's when Godzilla makes his dramatic entrance and comes out of nowhere and saves the little boys, in essence, in the movie. It's really captures the whole superhero Godzilla, in my opinion. In 1975, this Godzilla was no different as far as that goes, but it's a good movie. I like the movie. It's really cool that they brought back Mechagodzilla, and the aliens rebuild him, of course, and are using him for diabolical reasons like they always do, and like in the previous year. And it's just a pretty good movie. And then, of course, the inclusion of a new kaiju, which would be Titanosaurus. The seahorse kaiju is what I call Titanosaurus, because it really reminds me of a seahorse, at least from the neck up. So just a very good movie, unique new kaiju as far as Titanosaurus goes in it. I love Titanosaurus. I love the roar of Titanosaurus and the concept behind Titanosaurus, how the doctor in the movie says he's discovered a monster in the sea and he's learned how to control it. Nobody believes him, and he's ridiculed, and then he goes on to gain control of Titanosaurus through his daughter, because they had a terrible accident in his lab. She basically almost dies, but he puts the controls for Titanosaurus inside of her, so she controls Titanosaurus in the film. And then he's bringing Titanosaurus and with the aliens with Mechagodzilla, teaming them, Titanosaurus, with Mechagodzilla in order to reenact his revenge upon Japan for ridiculing him and not believing in him and his scientific discoveries and everything, because he was ridiculed for the whole Titanosaurus the whole story with Titanosaurus. He was really ridiculed for that. Nobody believed that that was even true, that he found the dinosaur. And it was this was his way of enacting revenge on Japan by teaming up with the evil aliens and Mechagodzilla to try to take over the world, starting in Japan. And of course, Godzilla comes along and saves the day, and there's a first fight when he rises and faces Titanosaurus alone. Titanosaurus actually retreats, and then later on they unleash Mechagodzilla with Titanosaurus in unison, and they start attacking Japan, and that's when the Godzilla saves the little boys in the film, and then he has the final climactic battle with Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus. And it's, I've said this before, but it's unique how in 1974, when Mechagodzilla first appeared, he was handicapped 2 versus 1, but then it's turned around on Godzilla the next year, and he is handicapped 2 versus 1, with him facing both Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla. So it's pretty ironic that happened that way, but Godzilla handles it in the end, and they bury Godzilla, and it doesn't look good for him. But then the humans came out with a way to stop Titanosaurus through, I think, sonic waves. They attach a antenna on the back of his neck, and they use this wave, like I call it a wave gun, and they're shooting these sonic waves into him, and it messes up his whole equilibrium, and he's all staggering around. And at that point, Godzilla was buried in the ground, and they had pretty much buried him and put a whooping on him. And with the humans helping and taking Titanosaurus out of the equation, Godzilla was able to rise from the ground and reclaim his stake. And eventually, moments after that, he did this to Mechagodzilla. He ripped his head off and was holding it like this in victory, but it ended up not being a victory right that moment, because Mechagodzilla was still functioning because his brain was exposed after he tore off his head. But then Godzilla eventually put Mechagodzilla away, and then in turn put Titanosaurus down. And as everyone knows, at the final scene, he's turns around and does his Godzilla roar and kind of waves to me, and then turns around and walks off into the ocean. And little do we know that that was the end of the Showa era. And it's just the music at the end there. The music is kind of symbolic of the ending of the Showa era, in my opinion. But it's a good movie. I enjoyed the movie very much. And if you are a new Godzilla fan, you should really go back and check out Godzilla's origins and invest some time into the Showa era movies from 1954 to 1975, because you will find some enjoyment in them. That's my childhood, so that's where my heart is anyway. So, and this here is one of my favorite suits. This suit, along with the previous suit, the 68 through 72, of course, my favorite suits. And I have an affinity for this Godzilla because my childhood is really wrapped around these particular movies from 1968 through 75. All right, as far as this figure goes, it is a gigantic series, as you can see. Very nicely done. He's pretty tall. I'll have some size comparisons momentarily, but he's a pretty big, impressive figure. I like how Mark did the tail. It does go down and touch. Then it goes back and curls off to his left slightly, so it doesn't go straight back, so it doesn't engulf a shelf totally. And his tail isn't super long. That helps too. I like how he done it. Of course, the little dorsal plates on the tail are the silver color. Nicely done there. And then did some nice sculpted tree bark skin on the tail. Charcoal gray in color. Of course, we get up to the back. You got the two little rows of the dorsal plates on the outer, which are the silver. And then, of course, the big classic middle row of the big dorsal plates. They are blackish with silver tones on the inner part. And then on the outer part, they are, on the tips, they are silver in color, just like the suit was in the film. So, pretty cool. The tree bark skin all throughout the body, on the legs, both legs, very nicely done. On the abdomen, very nicely done. On the arms, very nicely done tree bark skin sculpting here on this. But I will say that Mark always says he's getting better and better, and I've looked at my more recent customs I've gotten from him, and that is true. Their sculpted definition of their skin is even better than this, and to me this is pretty good. So, but that just tells you that Mark is always improving. He's always says he's getting better and better, and my collection's living proof of it. If I go back and look at my earlier sculpts versus the more recent ones, his sculpting technique is getting better and better. But like I said, traditional tree bark skin, charcoal gray collar, very nicely done. The toenails, toenails, 3 of them on each foot, just like the suit. Toenail, hand nails, fingers, 4-fingered scheme. The toenails and the fingernails are a light grayish in color, but they're nicely done. They're darker at the base of the nail, darker, almost a light blackish color there, but nicely done nonetheless. Of course, in his left hand is cupped and holding against his chest the Mechagodzilla's newly torn off head. It's nice silver in color, nice tone. I think he matched the paint really well. The big red button on the side of his head's painted in red, just like the suit. The little horn on top of his head is prevalent there. Of course, he's pretty much predominantly silver. Of course, he's got some yellow eyes there, two metal nostrils sticking out, metal teeth in the mouth, closed mouth, of course, which is very apropos. But it's nicely done, the Mechagodzilla head on this here sculpt. And then, of course, up here is the classic 1975 Godzilla in the face. Nice sculpting in the texture, bumpy texture on the face and on the chin and on the whole face area. Nice eyebrow definition there, nice nose sculpting, very nicely done. The eyes are white with a black pupil. That's also looks really good in my opinion. And of course the teeth in the mouth are individually sculpted, and they are a more whitish color than the nails. A dull bone white, really, the teeth, but they are all individually sculpted, and they kind of got that 70s Godzilla, teeth kind of shooting off multiple different directions. It looks really good. Pretty impressive. The face, I think, is pretty good. I do think, though, that if Mark did another 75 or even a 74 for me, I think it would be probably even better than this one, because he's even said that he's gotten better and better, and I've seen it firsthand in my more recent sculpts, even compared to this one, my 68 Godzilla, the tree bark skin, and my gigantic 84. Just are examples of two very, very, very impressively done sculpts by him, and I think they are even superior to this in just overall sculpting of the, in particular, the tree bark skin. But this is still really nicely done, no doubt. All right, I will do some quick size comparisons with this gigantic custom 75, and let's move on to those size comparisons right now. All right, everybody, I'm back. I'm back here. Just can't see me very well. Here's my X Plus gigantic Godzilla 1962 with my custom Godzilla 1975 holding Mechagodzilla's head. They barely fit on this here spinner, but they do fit. As you can see, this is probably 3/4 of an inch in height taller than, maybe even an inch taller than the 62, so that gives you some scale. It's pretty tall. I'd say it's about at 19, maybe 18 and a half, 19 in height, so it's pretty cool. All right, let's move on to another size comparison right now. All right, everybody, here is the X Plus gigantic Godzilla 1964, the Rick with the blue translucent fins, with my custom Godzilla 1975 holding the Mechagodzilla head. These are two pretty impressive figures here. I love this 64. I just feel like the jaw apparatus could have been like the gigantic 89, which they really honed it and perfected it, in my opinion, between the two. This is kind of all loosey-goosey and everywhere, and yeah, 89, his mouth is almost totally closed, and this one, this is, all the way in there, and his mouth's still a little open, but it really looks cool like that, though. But it just, the seams are more noticeable on it and everything, but other than that, I do love this 64 gigantic. It's really, really nicely done, in my opinion. Nice details and definition. These look pretty cool. All right, I'll move on to some quick final thoughts on this custom sculpt, and we'll do that right now. All right, everybody. I'm back with my gigantic custom Godzilla 75 holding Mechagodzilla's head. I got this one like a little over a year ago, I want to say. Maybe November of 18, late last year. So I've had it just over a year. And it's really nicely done by Mark. Did a good job on it, I think. I'm really pleased with it. And of course, like I said, my favorite one of my favorite suits right here, tied with the 68 through 72 suit. That's my favorites. I love this here sculpt. It's nicely done. I was very impressed with it when I got it, and I still have an appreciation for it to this day. And I realized I haven't done a video really on this particular figure, so I want to do an in focus video a little bit and kind of show it off, because it deserved that. So, but Mark does some really good work. There's other people out there that have some of his stuff, and they can vouch for that as well. And like I said, I've gotten much more impressive pieces since this. The 3 big gigantics I've gotten this year from him. The gigantic Ramarak, I have a video on my channel with it. The gigantic 84, I have a video on my channel about that one, and my gigantic 68. The quality overall between this and those, just those, is improved on Mark's part, and he said he's constantly trying to better himself, and I believe that. And I have a visual authentication of that in my sculpt. So, but I have 46 of them, I think, in my collection from him, and I love them all, and I'm gonna keep on getting them from him. We got a pretty impressive list, and I'm waiting them, and I can't wait to get more in my collection so I can share them with everyone and go over them, and it'll be a good time. But if you are interested in a sculpt from him, you can contact him on Facebook, Mark Seng Yang. He's not too hard to find. And you will see what I see here is a really talented artist that does some good stuff, and he keeps getting better, like I said. Alright, I'll bring the camera closer here to show this thing off, some close-up action. If y'all have any comments, or you can comment below, or if you like the video, you can like it. As always, this is Phil, the Kaiju King, from my collection room in Greater Cincinnati, and me, the gigantic Godzilla 1975. Want to wish you all a very fun-filled, kaiju-filled day. Talk to you later.